Washington Pod presents Earl Nightingale.
And I like the doctor's use of the word numbers. So many Americans are concerned about numbers, and in so many ways. The doctors believe that the incidence of severe type A behavior, the acquisitive, hard-driving, what makes Sammy run, how many numbers can I stack up kind of behavior, will wane during the next few decades. The American man and woman are not stupid, nor have they inherited any great liking for tyranny, even if this tyranny is being exerted over them by their own habits, drives, and greeds. Well, they're quite capable of revolt. And it would appear that they are revolting against cardiovascular diseases in Canada. I hope this is also becoming true in the U.S. According to Canadian statistics, for Canadians under 65 years of age, deaths from the total of cardiovascular diseases are down 28%. From heart attack, 10%, from stroke, down 42%, from high blood pressure, down 87%, and from other types of cardiovascular disease, down 41%. As the public becomes more fully educated on the means of preventing heart disease, the prospect is held by medical authorities that heart attacks, the most common cause of premature death, could become a rarity within the next 20 years. Canadian statistics indicate that smoking, diet, and lack of physical exertion are the three main culprits. But the main culprit, according to the authors of this book, is generally overlooked. They call it the missing connection, and its name is stress. The reason that stress has been left out of so much literature on the heart is that it's difficult to measure, and doctors, scientists generally, don't like to fool with things they can't measure quantitatively. In fact, an impressive study issued in 1971 by a specially designated committee of the Royal Society of New Zealand concerning the causes of coronary heart disease, a single sentence is allotted to the factor that the authors of this book believe to be the major one. They wrote, "Some members of the committee feel," it said, "that until more satisfactory means of measuring stress are developed, that no firm conclusion should be drawn concerning this risk in CHD, coronary heart disease." In any event, the good doctors go on to say, emotional stress of any variety, because of its resistance to precise measurement, has been shamefully neglected by quantitatively oriented cardiac researchers. If the smoking of cigarettes could not be measured by the number of cigarettes smoked per day, if the ingestion of saturated fats could not be measured by the number of calories ingested, and if physical exercise were similarly incapable of being measured by the number of hours employed in this activity, none of these factors today would be considered as lethal as they are now. Nature, unfortunately, cares very little if man can or cannot measure some phenomena in terms that are acceptable to him. But let us not obscure the issue by reference to vague generalizations. Hundreds of thousands of Americans have died, are dying, and will continue to die of the tragic complex of nervous factors that these authors have designated Type A behavior pattern. Yet its existence has been largely overlooked because it still cannot be described in quantitatively acceptable terms. In their search for some reason to account for the epidemic-like increase in coronary artery disease in the past half-century, most scientists sought for such possible changes in only those substances which man ate, drank, or inhaled. They were not acutely aware of any changes taking place in Western man's spiritual ambience, even though their own scientific colleagues were chiefly responsible for them. Like the rest of us, they were able to adjust to such changes because they occurred gradually. Although consciously we've managed to adjust to the emotional strains of modern life, the real question is whether we've managed to adjust our subconscious mental and our unconscious body process to these emotional strains. Several extraordinarily acute and percipient scholars of Western society were not at all certain that we would ever be able to adjust to the changes in our ambience. De Tocqueville, Thoreau, Henry Adams, and Sir William Osler, among many others, both in the last century and in this one, warned of the dangers of the increasing pace of living that was afflicting Western man in general, and Americans in particular. Anyway, stress is the missing connection, and you'll find out why and where it came from by reading this fine book, and may I suggest that you give copies of it to your friends. That's what I'm doing. You may help them live longer.